to be. But for GENG, like you said, and like Chronicles mentioned, the Kalista is a must ban, even more than the Skarner, I would say at this point. But both of them should be removed here by GENG. They only get one extra ban. Lee Sin taken off. Maybe it'll be a focus on Canyon in the jungle here.
Yeah,
Hanwha Life.
I think if it's Lee Sin, you ban the Nidalee afterwards. And then Peanut says, I've been here forever. I've played everything. And I'm just happy to find something with some level of utility to get something done.
Perhaps even something like a Kindred could be an option if you could draft around it. They will not lock one role, though, and will take away Duro's Nautilus instead. This should be a Kalista ban, and they'll leave that final ban up in the air. Picks like the Sylas, the Akali are still available for Zeka if they want to draft something like that. Ahri still available. Viego also still available.
There's a lot of junglers that are very playable. That's the problem. So Nocturne going to be taken away. And the last one likely to be a Nidalee, unless they want to see that one locked in. The thing is, if the Nidalee gets locked in, then I feel like HLE will want to go for one of these Pantheon compositions, right? As there's the Caitlyn to be taken off the board. Banning out Viper, I think, is that there's no hope there. This guy plays everything in the bottom lane. As Nidalee first pick, I think pretty face up here for HLE. But what is the response from GENG? That's the big one. And on my mind is, what do they have planned into this?
There's that Sylas pick. Would be blind, of course, in this situation. I think if you're drafting against an Nidalee, one of the big things that's always on your mind is trying to get lane prio against it so that it's harder to play the game, but blind Sylas isn't necessarily going to fit the bill on that one. And
also, it's something that Peanut has actually found success on. I know, you know, you go to the internet after Peanut's had a Zyra game, and it's kind of a horrible place to be if you're a Peanut fan. His Nidalees, he's been escaping a lot of that criticism. He's looked pretty good.
There's the Pantheon.
This is a great pick away, in my opinion. I actually think that even like whether it's jungle, whether it's support, I think that picking this away from the Nidalee composition is really smart.
I do agree.
Oh God, Poppy made it through.
Poppy also available, as you say. Do we see an 80 carry to match to alongside it here? There's still a lot of mid picks available and a lot of good picks for Zeka. So like the Talia is also still available in this series. So I'd like to see them grab something for Viper, but again, it is somewhat face up. I feel good about the Poppy here because the Caitlyn is banned. So there's no chance of getting taken out by a Caitlyn, at least composition in the bottom lane. So I think this is a relatively safe pick, a smart move from Hanwha Life. But what is he playing with it becomes the question as we just keep hovering Zed.
You just need to hover Zed all the time. I mean, Faker isn't in this game. Ryu's not even here.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ryu is like grabbing his chair really tightly every time it happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's been happening a lot. But I think maybe people have been experimenting with it. There's the Zeri, though.
It's not a lot of setup for the Zeri just yet in this composition. So while I do think the Zeri is a top-tier pick based on what's available, I'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. Canyon
do it.
Kane. We have seen this.
Dude, the Canyon is just, it's so legendary.
We have seen this on winning and losing ends for him in big matches.
This would be sad. This is like competitively viable Kane.
Yeah. Oh God, it's so true. Zeus is not going to get to play Olaf. He did run at T1 so fast and so hard that he brought us to this series in that final game. Will not be available this time around. Not a ton of synergy with the Nidalee there, but still a strong pick nonetheless.
This also confirms that Pantheon is either going to be in a lane
it's a solo
or in support.
Yeah, it could be a solo lane, could also be support.
I feel like Pantheon wouldn't have a whole lot of fun into the Poppy. But we'll see. Lulu, I think, is a fantastic ban. I actually thought that HLE would be possibly trying to pick that one up and flexing the Poppy around, but we haven't really seen Poppy in jungle or top lane so far this season.
I think the best choices left here for Ruler are the Jinx, which no longer has a Lulu to pair with it, or potentially, I hate to say the word out loud, the champ's name out loud, but maybe Aphelios in this draft. They have Tom Kench, they have Thresh available for potential for that. The Jinx is taken away.
I think Jinx was the pretty obvious ban, so I think that Ruler was definitely planning for something that wasn't the Jinx.
I think something like a Lucian here just is too risky.
Oh, that's
it's available.
I didn't even thought about the Lucian.
It is something you can play into this very Poppy lane.
Ooh, Twitch is another fun one.
I don't know about this.
Oh.
I know even less about this in terms of how I feel about it.
I feel negatively towards
I don't like it very much.
Oh, it's Twitch. Okay, an 80 carry. That makes us feel a little bit better.
I mean, it has an incredible front line and setup.
And you can really jump scare people, especially with the Grand Skyfall used in tandem.
Will we see the Talia to come through here for Zeka? It feels pretty good into the Silas, the Pantheon.
Oh god, no. Not Aatrox. Aatrox has looked not very fun and good. Okay, that's going to be Aatrox though. Oh, this is a worry. It's a great sign for GENG fans.
All right, what's that Zeka pick? There's no... I mean, no way to play a Kali, right?
Ooh, Ari would be weird with a Nidalee, personally.
Yeah. A Kali feels weird too. I don't really like it here. Would have rather seen the Talia, but ultimately they're going to settle on this Ari that made it all the way to Game 5.
And that's Cannon.
And then Cannon. And potentially 80 Cannon in this draft. It could be, but, you know, it's not the most...
Was that what Kingen did?
Yeah, it's not the most magic damage ever with Silas in the mid lane here for GENG, so he definitely can go AP here. And the Aatrox matchup into the Cannon feels pretty good for Keen. He plays it well in space as well. I think Zeus is one of our best Aatrox players. You know, Kingen, obviously, one who got World's MVP with it, but Zeus is, I'd say, more consistent and has been when Aatrox was super broke. Remember Lethality Aatrox and all that?
Yep.
Zeus was a big abuser back then.
I mean, it was back-to-back years of, like, pretty ridiculous Aatrox play from both of these players.
I think the composition for GENG is a little bit easier to play, to be honest. And sometimes that's where I lean when we go to Game 5s where the compositions for both teams aren't standard. They aren't necessarily strong. Like, they're kind of like B-plus tier drafts that you would never beat a robust draft with, but this is what's left available and what the teams have ultimately ended up with. I feel like the Pantheon has the most agency out of anything on both teams and can really warp this draft. Because you didn't go for Talia, you can't match those rotations here with Hanwha Life. They have a great team fighting composition, especially through the mid game, if they can pilot it well. But this just kind of presses R and wins the game. I'm leaning towards this draft here for GENG.
I would agree. I think the reset potential is definitely there as well with the jump scare of the Twitch. An original counter pick into Zeri. Let's get into it. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Game 5, GENG versus Hanwha Life Esports. The rematch of our LCK Summer Final last year. And one that HLE was able to take at that point in time against all the odds, apart from Orcs' odds. HLE now with blue side advantage, but I don't think they got an advantage in this draft. I think that they, like, and I want to echo what you were saying and, like, try to add a little bit of explanation, I guess. Like, you look at the, often we look at mid-jungle 2v2, right? Like, I think that that's very important. Nidalee and the Ari together doesn't really make me very excited. I feel like the Merc Tread's value goes through the roof, and I think that Chovy should be able to navigate that one pretty comfortably. The setup for the Nidalee not quite going to be there, and then you're playing this sort of pick-poke composition, and you have a Zeri that really wants to be team fighting and things like that. I think the only saving grace here is Delight on the Poppy.
Yeah.
Because what Poppy does is it turns every draft into a playable one. As, never mind, all right, Chovy just going to have to flash immediately here in this game and gives him the good old thumbs up, says successful little bait as the lane swap comes in.
You miss every chain you don't take. So sometimes you just feel obliged to take them. And
I think it's just a thing with Silas. You have to throw chain at enemy.
Yeah.
This is how it is done.
Sometimes we see players just throw the chains into the air to stack the passive one more time, but you know, in this case, he felt really like he was going to get something out of this. He's got that buffed electrocute. So does Zeka, though, so that's kind of a problem. This Peanut is trying to make sure his jungle doesn't get stolen away.
Oh, no. This is something that Canyon actually ran into a little while back, where he tried to steal some grubs and then wasn't actually able to get the value as the chain, this time not going to connect as Canyon makes his way back towards his side of the jungle. Wasting a lot of time, though.
That was very scary for Zeka there as well. Surprised he played so aggressively.
Nice charm going to connect. Foxfire as well.
He has
landing onto Chovy.
He has been one of our better Ahri players, even though I feel like
he was the one that debuted Ahri after her rework.
Yeah, he and Faker were kind of leading the charge at that one, and you know, it's not a pick that we associate with him as much as some of his other melee picks, but he is very good at it, and he's showing why.
Oh god, Chovy, remember, doesn't have flash, but instead they just turn immediately onto Canyon. I don't know whether you needed to do that, Peanut, but he is able to get out of the last turret shot. Oh, I feel like, you know, the gods are on his side after that one.
Well, this is certainly stacking up a lot of advantages here against GENG. Hanwha Life with a fantastic start.
Oh dear, roll up. That's the sweet spot of that Q coming on through there, but Duro is going to make his way back down. This time, the chains do go back the other direction. And one thing that HLE's composition does have is a fair bit of early power.
Yes.
And that has certainly been utilized thus far.
I think also in the mid game, it's really powerful if you can set up team fights on your terms. You know, Zeri, when she has her ult, even before she has, you know, 2-3 items, is still incredibly powerful. Even before her first item, because of the bounce damage and how much control you can get in these crazy skirmishes that they can set up. It's a lot of action here on both sides of the map. Looks like Zeus is going to be fine on top side.
It's kind of crazy that he's just fighting 1v2.
He's just confident. He's like, well, that's a level 3 Pantheon that has a World Atlas. And Ruler is on a Doran's Blade, so if I hit my sweet spots, I can trade really well with my passive. Chovy's in trouble. Still no flash, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Has to Kingslayer his way over. Delight's going to turn up. That means that he's definitely dead. And that is 0, 1, and 0 for Chovy. And of course, it was Canyon that died the first time around.
Canyon can't help him out in the mid lane, or he's just going to lose his whole jungle.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost all of the top side of his jungle essentially during that moment, and now has to go farm. Whee! Bye-bye.
I don't think he quite meant that.
Yeah.
I think he was avoiding a shuriken.
Yeah.
He's like, peace, I'm out of here. My people need me.
He really didn't get hit by it.
He really didn't. Nice charm going to connect there from Zeka, but Chovy is actually trading this one back far better as the teleport does come on through. So turning up with half your health bar doesn't feel great.
The roaming Poppy pick, though, has been so incredibly powerful. Poppy is such a strong early jungler because she can, you know, go and push people into the wall. She's very tanky. But as a support that's basically acting jungler in this game, you can have that same sort of impact, especially when Chovy has no flash there, so they punish him. The CS difference here is pretty massive. And Canyon has done a decent job of catching up here in terms of the farm, but he's got a kill on his opposite number to deal with as well as we go all the way back to this play. He had a little bit overzealous on this one, but the buckler hits. Chovy flashes away and they're like, cool, I've got another target. And then Canyon is just dead despite the flash.
The target selection from Delight, absolutely phenomenal there because they identify he's the one closest to the wall, but then the communication that happens immediately is very, very strong. As yeah, this was just an overload of the mid lane and nothing Chovy could do.
If Delight hesitates for even a second there, I don't think he gets that. He doesn't get that pick. He doesn't get that play, but he did not. And Chovy's just trying to farm, doesn't have Canyon to help him out. Now he's getting electrocuted repeatedly here in a melee versus ranged matchup where Zeka has an advantage.
Well, Grubs are going to spawn. Peanut in position. Delight now going to move over. The most terrifying little Yordle with a hammer. And Viper only level 6, so doesn't quite have the ultimate available, but there is the pick-off, and Duro, he is burning, and Viper is going to be able to pick up the kill. That is feats of strength, and so much value here as now Rule underneath his top outer turret. And I had some doubts about this draft, but so far it's working so well. Unless Chovy can do something about it, both of them trading some hijacked Spirit Rushes and some real ones.
I mean, the lane swap just didn't really go well for GENG, and some of the prior they have, they're utilizing it so incredibly well for this Nidalee. We talked about it, how useful it is to have lane prior, but when you're crushing lanes this hard, you get objective control as well. And man, Viper was so close to hitting level 6 off of that initial pick as well. If he had like one more minion, I think he would have had it, and it could have been even worse.
Yeah, Shuriken going to connect here onto Peanut as the Grubs have been started up yet again. A teleport back, though, from Zeus as HLE look to commit for this fight. They've already got feats of strength as far as those kills are concerned. They're looking to make a bit of a start here as they want to take down all 3 of these Grubs. Keen on a ward as he does decide to go back, but Zeus able to umbrally dash away.
Now, Hanwha Life need to maintain this tempo because there's a lot of things that can go poorly for them when we get to later team fights with how these compositions work. But, I mean, they have such a huge lead in the jungle, in the AD carry role. the fact that Ari is 20 CS up on Chovy. Chovy doesn't lose in CS. Like, this is it's probably breaking his heart that this might affect his CS difference numbers as well, because this is like the lowest he's ever been, basically.
Oh god, the interruption that was blind avoids the chains as well. Flashes out of the slicing maelstrom, and he's still probably going to die as Canyon's going to turn up. Umbral dash over the wall though. As he's out of mark range, this is insane. Gets the knock up onto Keen, and I don't think he's got another charge. As meanwhile, on the other side of the rift, Ruler is getting torn to shreds here by Peanut, but he's able to slink off, gets into stealth. Duro maybe not so lucky, as Viper presses the ultimate button, and there is the kill. So 1-for-1 in the extended trade, and I have to say, nicely played, Zeus, even if you did still die.
Yeah, no, he didn't have a blast cone or anything to get away from there. I thought perhaps like with the way the observer was panning that there was something going to happen, but no, everyone else was topside. He was left to die, but they find success, and they're looking for a redive here on the Ruler.
Yep, Delight is just going to push Ruler away, and Ruler is too greedy, and he's just going to die.
Greed has kind of been the name of the game for Ruler, but I mean, you can call it greed in this situation, but he's sitting 20 CS down. He's like, well, I've got to farm. Yeah, maybe I get out of here, but like, yeah, it's greed though, because they might still be there. You just have to lose more farm. It's a lose-lose situation, Atlas. I'm not even saying you're wrong. It's just like, what are you gonna do?
No, it's still greedy. It's just greed was probably the right call.
Yeah, it's. At least he thought so.
Yeah.
But the coast was not clear, and he's pushed away. Duro's left to die here as Zeus dies bottom side, and then.
Have you dusted off the printer yet? Can we print out some certifications? Is that what we're doing here for Viper?
Yeah, we're close. But I wouldn't call it... I feel like there have been too many isolated moments, not all one in the same place.
Okay, got it.
But still, he's online.
This might be the moment, as now Zeus throwing some shurikens around, getting some marks of the storm out, and does manage to get a little bit of a stun there onto Viper. Viper not too worried about it, but they don't kill the little lightning mouse.
This is scary for Keen. He does have his ult online, but no flash. See if he wants to stick it. He's just going to leave, but now he's denied more farm.
Yeah, Peanut hasn't landed a whole lot of spears so far this game. One thing I do want to say, though, is that I think that Peanut's probably our best team-fighting Nidalee.
Yeah.
I think the pathing Nidalee title goes to Canyon, but the team-fighting, like the way he uses Primal Surge in these fights is super impressive. Especially more recently.
Yeah, and this game isn't necessarily a game where, you know, hitting spears in the neutral is going to be your big win con. It can help, obviously, but, you know, hitting spears onto a charmed target, for example, is going to be pretty easy. Onto a target that's been stunned at a wall, going to be pretty easy. So he's got some help here. But otherwise, it's going to be healing Azeri and helping control vision and trying to continue to put the pressure on Canyon, which he's done a great job of so far. This Zeri has 3 kills, picked up an additional plate there on the bottom side. Is up 1.7K on the Twitch counter pick.
Yuntal's completed already.
Yeah.
It still has the complementary boots, but they're on their way to picking up some feats of strength as well. So those boots could be even further improved. As Canyon looks to start off this dragon, that is going to even out things when it comes to the objective feats of strength.
No.
Oh, the face check. Even the spear going to land. Pounce comes through. Chovy able to spirit dash his way out. And I don't know where that spear was going, as Peanut's just going to flash out of there immediately. Saw the rest of the cavalry coming in. And Viper's on the top side of the map, and HLE will back away.
Yeah, that's going to be the Dragon going over to GENG, which will be 1 feat of strength or 1 part of that feat of strength for them. But plate gold everywhere else. I mean, this gold lead is expanding. Zeus, no flash. 4 people.
There's the World Ender. He's just looking to clear out these minions if he can, but he will just be exploded. There goes that kill. Viper with some free time there towards the top side in exchange. Teleport over from Chovy into this mid lane. As GENG actually trading up pretty nicely here towards this bottom side. Unless, yeah, okay, with these grubs going down, maybe it's not so much.
I don't know if it's actually a trade up, because this turret's more healthy, and they have TP, so they can't even try to get more plates here. And Chovy had to commit his teleport mid after they lost plates there.
I thought they'd be able to get so much more damage onto that turret, but that's 6 grubs to nothing.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately, I feel, like the problem is that you've already kind of fallen behind the 8-ball in this one. So trying to make macro trades like this would feel better if there weren't 6 scrubs, if it wasn't a Fed Zeri, you know, things like this. If you had a teleport advantage, but you don't. So I think it's maybe the best that GENG could have hoped for in this scenario, but it still feels like a loss.
Yep, footwear of Gusto now for HLE at the same time. So we have a look at the replay towards the bottom side. And Zeus, I mean, you understand the game plan here, clear the minions, but he was never going to live.
Look at the mini-map. Like, Chovy's being pushed out. He has to teleport back to lane. Top side, obviously, we showed the plates and the turret going down for Viper, who has a 2,500 gold lead over Ruler now.
What the hell? Okay, now Ruler is just going to try and escape. And it's Phantom Dancer, actually, that Viper went for.
He's got it already.
I was expecting Runans, but I feel like he has been just picking people off. So going for a little bit more of a duelist item makes a bit of sense here. As Peanut finishes his Leandri's.
He's been kind of doing a little side lane Zeri action. And we're not in big 5v5s just yet because GENG are so far behind on the tempo, they're not able to group for them. So he's like, I'll get Phantom Dancer, or sorry, Runans later.
Mid-lane item difference, by the way.
Yeah, it's... Chovy doesn't really... He has some components.
Yeah, that is... That's a large difference. It's okay, that's a good flash from Ruler. As Viper still getting this damage down as Canyon looks for the stun, but Viper avoids it. Ruler now underneath this turret's trying to stay safe.
They might be able to get one more plate there in the mid lane. Looks like they're going to shy away from it, though. Too many members of GENG grouped up.
Yeah, Viper with his ulti now on cooldown, though, so a possible time for GENG to find a bit of value.
Yeah, they're going to try to counter push mid. Yeah, man, looking at Chovy's items, it's like, you know, somebody's like, what's for dinner, Chovy's? Opens the condiments drawer.
Yeah.
And I don't know, this situation is really tough for GENG because Hanwha are now playing so respectfully as well.
Well, Canyon now going to find Viper here. A little bit of a misposition, but he does have the barrier to keep himself safe. Spray and pray comes out from Ruler, but Viper creates the distance required. Still, now they've got the barrier, the flash, and the ulti out of this Zeri, who will need to go back home.
Definitely a few small wins.
Okay, no. The crab had spawned. I just thought it hadn't spawned yet. He threw every button.
I feel like there's the observers are showcasing this as well. Keen's the one person who has an advantage, right? He has a small CS lead. He had a bigger one earlier, but he's a Kennen. There's no exhaust for Hanwha Life Esports. They didn't opt into that. Viper wanted to have barrier for some extra power, some early skirmishes and laning power. Feats of strength go to Hanwha Life. GENG need to somehow set up some flank wards, I think. Like, getting Keen into the backline, if he can have a massive slicing Maelstrom, he is going AP in this game, which we mentioned earlier kind of makes more sense. If he can have that big team fight, that puts maybe Ruler back into the game. That puts Chovy back in the game. Speaking of Chovy.
Yeah, Chovy's going to discover Zeus as the Infernal Chains will connect. Some sweet spots landing here as Zeus wins out on that trade quite nicely. Spear going to go haywire once again as Chovy just not allowed to sit in a lane unperturbed.
And that's another turret potentially going to go down here. It's so low.
Yeah, needing to do everything just to dodge all of these abilities that are going everywhere. Nice little dodge with the Kingslayer to get himself out of the way as another Infernal Chain's coming on through. Surely Peanut's going to hit one of them as the turret just goes down. 6 grubs, ladies and gentlemen. That will do it as that one landed.
Nicely done. They're looking for more.
Yep, heroic charge into the wall here as Dura taking a whole bunch of damage here from Delight. Has to use everything, and they are just getting bullied out of their own jungle, and the result of it is their structures just lying as rubble on the floor. Zeka will be able to immediately clear out this control ward, and look at this, their vision line is so far up into GENG's base that they are going to struggle to even clear out their camps.
Yeah, I mean, you have this line of wards here that's impossible to cross. You know, that flank ward I was talking about, get real, that's never going to happen.
Yep.
How are you ever going to get a flank off as this Kennen? You're going to have to just kind of rush your way in to the team fight and hope there's an overextension. But with the mobile champions we have, we're talking about Nidalee, Ahri, Zeri, and to a lesser extent, Aatrox is decently mobile himself.
Well, here's a heroic charge as Viper's making his way in. Duro looking to try and stop him, but Ruler is dead. That was mostly praying, not a whole lot of spraying. I mean, as HLE now look to grab themselves a Herald as a little bit of a reward.
You know, we got silver scrapes, but I feel like we're just silver scraping what's left of GENG in this 5th game out of the barrel.
No.
This is just a complete dismantling And we liked, you know, some of the
I
aspects
was
of Gen G's
worried
comp.
about this draft as well, as Viper is in melee range against a Viego, and he just pieces out. Delight can go for the 1v1 if you'd like to. The double teleports as Canyon gonna get flashed on. And that is that darkened, the cool button that Zeus has access to on his passive, and Chovy and Keen turn up a little bit too late to stop anything from happening.
The dodges in this game, but Unreal Keen's going for it.
And look at that, Delight sacrificing himself. Chovy did steal away Viper's ultimate, and that is going to be able to take that kill as the steadfast presence is so good from Delight still. The chains come down, and Chovy tanking too many turrets here in order to stay alive as Zeka comes in and says no more funny business, but GENG have been able to find some value unless this charm is going to spell the end of everything, because remember, this means resets, and Zeka is dashing after Ruler now. The Orb of Deception doesn't get that true damage, as Ruler does have the ultimate back up and available once again. Expunge not quite going to be there, although I think it's called Contaminate now. Expunge was a long time ago. Well, prefer it. Like, I just feel like the word's fun.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's okay, you can still say the old words. Everyone knows what you mean.
Oh, thanks, man.
Viper here wants to set up a sandwich, right? Because he's Zeri, he's got the wall to ride on. He sets up the buffered extendo beam as well to get the slow. This is just clean Zeri play. And when you're sitting on 2 items way faster than you're supposed to be, you can make cool stuff like this happen. You know, a little bit overzealous in some of the upcoming plays, but you can just see he's like, oh, I'm super fed. I can make this stuff happen. Eats a bunch of damage here, but teleport comes through, and Chovy is ready. He's like, we're not going down without a fight. This is said fight. Yes, Canyon does die. McKean commits his ultimate here. Even though Chovy doesn't get the chains, he steals the Zeus ult. Or Zeri ult, excuse me. And
Heroic Charge was actually a really cute idea from Delight.
Yeah. It's almost enough, but I mean, they still get Chovy, unfortunately, and Zeka just continues to chase them down.
All right, Zeka could be in trouble. Chain's going to connect there as Dura gets the stun. Charm goes wide, and that is 730 gold or something like that going over to Chovy as Zeus is teleported in. Duro is dead, ladies and gentlemen, and Chovy, I think, is going to follow suit. There he goes. Okay, so the answering 2 kills probably worth the death of Zeka right there. Although it was his first, so we got the shutdown.
Chovy, a little grin on his face there after that one. This showcases what Gen G's comp can do. It's not necessarily the greatest 5v5 comp against a fed Zeri, but if you can isolate and pick off targets with your CC, it works really well. If you're at a leading game state, the Zeri isn't fully online yet, you can actually 5v5 pretty well with the simplicity of the composition, but they keep finding picks but paying for it. And when you're this far behind, a trade of kills might feel nice because you're like, well, we're behind on gold, we shouldn't be able to get that, but now you're losing the map.
Oh. Keen going a little bit aggressive here as Zeus does get stunned off, and Zeus just pops him. That is going to be the kill going over to Light somehow, and Dura realizing that there is no avenue in whatsoever. Canyon down to 50%, Ruler trying to do damage where he can, and look at this brick wall of an Aatrox. Delight goes in, double knock up is gigantic. Duro in that backline, zoning out Viper quite nicely as the rest of Gen G have grouped back up. But Zeus is still alive, he's healing over and over again. The team fighting Peanut Nidalee is actually working, and finally, Zeka shows up to clean up the battle.
And again, it's a trade, but eventually Hanwha Life trade up better. I mean, these are some of the best fights you could hope for as Gen G. You know, Duro getting into the back line, getting on top of Viper, isolating him, preventing a lot of his damage from coming through. It's plays like that and plays like this where you could see how this composition works. Duro's like, all right, I stun, you stun, we kill, dead Ahri. Very simple, but then you're on the wrong side of the map because you had to go super deep for this. But if it was a closer game, this could have really worked out for Gen G. They are not giving up. They are not going down without a fight. They're not going quietly into that good night, but it feels like they are still going. Atlas as Keen again tries to set up this ultimate here, and then Hanwha Life feels safe. They go back in, but Duro on the flank is massive. As speaking of flanks.
Oh, that's a heroic charge. Into a charm, and Duro's dead. Not a whole lot that he can do about that one, as he does buy a fair bit of time as the teleport is coming in from Keen. But just a little bit too little and definitely too late, as we do have Artican up and available. And the crazy thing is despite the fact that things have felt very back and forth, it hasn't been. There are bounties available. HLE has a huge gold advantage, and Artican is just being taken. There's a teleport from Chovy into the top lane. They know that there is no way that they can fight this. And HLE are also just taking a dragon at the same time. It's as if they're the only ones on the map right now. as they will be able to take this one down. Topside is maybe where they'll be able to find some semblance of an answering kill or something objective. But I just don't know about that. Zeus going to be able to clear things out. Zeus also has been... Oh, okay, never mind. He's just going to face check two people. Zeka going to move over, and there's the explosion. And down goes Canyon. No resets for you. Chovy as well, finding himself point blank into this Aatrox, who will just take a little bit of a avenue out of there. Viper explodes, that's gonna kill the rat, and now he's just looking to press that burst fire button over and over again. He's got carpal tunnel, but he's also got a triple kill, and maybe make that a quadra. Never mind, it's gonna be taken there by Peanut. That's gonna be an ace, and remember, they had Otacon.
They had Otacon, so they don't care about the withdraws. They don't care about the takedowns here. And GENG just trying to group to isolate targets. Who can we find on rotation? Who can we find who's coming in here? We're trying to set up some side laning. Maybe we can pull Hanwha Life apart. And they have the numbers advantage, but because they're so far behind on gold, so much time can be bought here with the withdraws. Viper comes in and cleans up house. I mean, you can see Duro's trying his best, trying to get on top of this guy, but he gets knocked up by the Poppy. Chovy goes in.
Oh, Chovy actually finding that withdraw angle, pretty impressive.
It was impressive, but like many things that have been impressive for GENG, despite an 8,000 gold lead until now, it's 10,000. They don't necessarily matter because it's 2 steps forward and then perhaps 5 steps back in some of these fights because Han would clean up and get more map control each and every time. Chovy,
15 stacks, by the way, on the Forbidden.
Yeah. And Chovy, he's now like, he's got his arm guard. He did get 2 items. You know, we went from ketchup to like,
oh God!
It's big. The damage.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage. He finds that first Q onto Canyon there as well. Takes a blast cone, but Canyon is going to be able to make his way out, but not without needing to go see a doctor about some heart condition.
Yeah, for real. 30 more seconds on the remainder of these Otacon buffs. They're trying to make some use of it.
All right, Grand Starfall as Duro is in the mid lane.
Yeah.
And Zeka is also in the mid lane. Keen is going to be the first one to be targeted as Delight pushes Chovy away. Duro is also going to explode the double kill for the Ari as the spray and pray was trying to work, but unfortunately the Twitch just does not do enough. And look at Zeka having a field day. It's a quadra. Oh God, is he gonna get another game 5 pentakill? Canyon is going to say absolutely not. That would be ridiculous. 2 best-of-5s in a row. Yeah. No, no, no.
Canyon is the pentakill denier, as we've learned.
Yes, be it his own team or the enemy.
Well, this last game was a bit of a wash, Atlas.
It certainly was, but it was some impressive plays. There's a heroic charge. Zeka, unofficial denial of the pentakill by Delight. You'll love to see it. Nexus turrets. Number 1 going to go down. Number 2 still standing. HLE, I think respecting some of these respawn timers as Duro, Ruler, and Keen are all up and available. And so I think maybe it is a on-spawn Baron take before we win the game.
Yeah, I feel
12,000 gold in the lead.
If you're a GENG fan in this one, you've definitely enjoyed some of the highs, but the lows have felt pretty hard. And Ruler may just simply go down.
Oh dear. Well, Zeka is very charming, as we know.
Indeed. 25 stacks of Majais. He hurts hard.
He does.
It's not. You're not allowed to have full stacks. That's not supposed to happen in pro. But he's done it.
Oh, Zeus is standing on a ward. And now everyone's going to dive in. Viper is going to turn up as Chovy. Look at that. He's flailing with his chains out. And unfortunately, HLE are way too far ahead. Zeus can face check basically anything he wants as the slicing maelstrom does nothing. It's the tickling electric static circle. It's not really doing anything much at all. And HLE, I think, don't need a Baron. They just need to kill this last remaining Nexus turret to bring them to a date with D+ Kia in our winners final here for the LCK Cup. Ruler spraying, praying, but he's gonna have to utilize a lot of those prayers against Nongshim to keep GENG alive here in this tournament.
It was a slow start for Hanwha Life Esports here in 2025, but man, have they ramped up. 2 Game 5 wins in critical series where so many champions are removed from play. They got duped in the Game 4 draft for sure, but in Game 5, their composition, while being difficult to pilot, was piloted incredibly well. Peanut ruling the jungle on this Nidalee. Zeka outclassing Chovy early on, getting those advantages, being such a threat. Having the Zeri set up early, but then turning him into a side lane monster as well. Hanwha Life playing a great macro game here.
Oh yeah. Zeus also, I shouldn't have doubted his Aatrox. being the first one to make that champion look real. It's been picked quite a few times here in the LCK Cup. It's looked not great until today. Where even then, like, he was, what, 3-3-3 in the mid-game, right? He wasn't the one hard carrying the game.
There were just
that was a lot of this guy, right?
Yeah, there were too many threats. There were too many carries. Everyone was so fed. Even Peanut had a massive advantage in the jungle. Viper with a respectful bow and double thumbs up here. I think that D+ Honor Life series...
There's your POM right there.
Oh, yeah. I locked that one in a while ago. But I feel like this series is indicative of what Hanwha is capable of. And if they don't trip up and draft, and their drafts have gotten better throughout this tournament, I feel like the sky's the limit. We don't know what it is just yet, but that series against D+ is going to be so sick. I am really looking forward to it now. I
cannot wait. I think D+, I mean, I don't think. Obviously, D+ managed to get the better of them the first time around, but I do not think that this HLE that we're seeing on the stage here today and a couple of days ago is the same one as what we were witnessing in the group stage. They have definitely discovered what it is to play with a new top laner and to figure out how to make this team of superstars work together, and it is an absolute joy to watch. And Chovy tried his very best in this one, but unfortunately it just wasn't quite enough because HLE just looked so much more like a unit today.
In so many of the games where Peanut just outclasses opponents, which he's done to Owner, he's done to Canyon before, he did it to Canyon today, it feels like a slow burn. He gets these small advantages, gets his laners ahead, but occasionally, even in games like this, it's not a slow burn. You know, he just puts the blowtorch on, gets such a huge lead for his team, and they snowball it super hard, but it's been happening more and more often. And I feel like Peanut's been criticized by a lot of people this season because he's had some small mistakes here and there, right? He hasn't been perfect, but you can see he's still got the brain to set up his team for massive success, and his early pathing is just incredible.
The best thing is it doesn't matter the amount of criticism you give Peanut because he will ignore all of it.
Yeah.
He just does not care.
And Fearless, when you get to best of fives like this, when the drafts are wonky, but Peanut still has the game plan, that's when he's so scary. That's when, you know, the other team is like, all right, we've put 5 champions together, we're not sure about this. Peanut's like, no, I know exactly how to punish this draft.
And he still wins games on 0 Heartsteel stacks of Mumu.
Yeah.
Like, that still happens. He's still got Curse of the Sad Mummy, you know, and he knows exactly when to use it. It's about, like, his architecture of a good fight in the later stages of the game that makes him so invaluable for a team like Hanwha Life Esports, especially when paired with that guy right there, just slamming people into walls and setting up kills for his teammates. Delight, an absolute monster this whole series. I think that, like, this would have looked so different if Delight wasn't having an absolute day out today.
I feel like this team is finally starting to reach its identity. Like, Viper can sometimes, you know, be the main carry, and often is, right, as we saw in Game 1, but sometimes it's just facilitation of this AD carry while you can play through top lane, you can play through mid lane, you can do whatever Peanut tells you to do, and when he finds that early advantage, the gold graphs look like this, and Hanwha Life look like a scary team in these BO5s.
They are so scary. Zeka also now 7 BO5s in a row this guy has managed to take. He's just pretty good when it comes down to the high-pressure situations. And we all knew that Viper and Zeka paired together, you know, the 2021 5-gamer forever, and then the 2022. And then you give Viper this guy, who just had, like, the most incredible performance. I think even the Braum game was pretty decent.
The Shen game was not too bad either.
Yeah, his Pyke was amazing. That last Poppy game, phenomenal, but his Rakan, I mean, it's always been good. It's just great when he demonstrates why we talk about his Rakan all the time.
But in this series, he was kind of like a second jungler. He was making impacts everywhere the whole series long, and the guy is just such an intelligent player, and we've known what he's been capable of. Here's his streak, by the way, going all the way back to the Worlds qualifier.
Damn.
7 in a row.
That is absolutely ridiculous. All the way up here to the LCK Cup playoffs round 2. We'll see how much further he can go as well, because D+, they're going to stand in the way. Then it's a couple more wins, and then they can be the representatives at first stand here in LOL Park as well. Whew. See whether it is going to be Home Life Esports or whether D Plus are going to continue their absolute demolition of this tournament. They are very, very good at Fearless, so it could be a little bit rough. But now we do get to have a bit of a chat to Delight. Maybe he's going to let us know some of the strategies going into their next matchup. I'm not entirely sure.
I hope he talks about Barrel.
Yeah.
I hope
so
he
too.
talks about Barrel. That's what I want.
All right, well, let's see whether he does. We throw it over to the interview now.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Jisoo for the POM interview translation. And after a very close 5-game series, Hana Life Esports is headed to the winner bracket. Congratulations, Delight, on the victory and on your POM. A fantastic victory up against GENG to advance to the winners bracket. How do you feel? We all thought that today was a very important day for us, so I am very happy that we managed to kind of show an improved performance throughout the series today. Although you lost to GENG in the group battle stage, but today you came back with a dominant performance. What kind of feedback and adjustments were made throughout the course of group battle? After losing to D plus Kia, we managed to kind of find our direction for our play style, and I think it worked really well. It was a full 5-game battle. Which game do you think was the most decisive and important? In game number 1, because we won on the red side. That was critical. Starting from last year, we also saw Zeka's best of 5 record, but also Hana Life as a team. You guys are on an 11-match winning streak when it comes to game number 1 in a best of 5. I think the credit goes to our coaching staff, because of their strategy and how they prepare for these kind of an important match. They always come up with the best kind of tactics, so we managed to always pick up the game number 1 victory. Hana Life has gone through a 5-game series back-to-back. Do you think it is actually beneficial because you get more knowledge and experience, or does it kind of tires you out? Yeah, of course, because we get more experience, but also it's also because of the jungler, so I don't know, it happens, but I don't have any specific message over to Peanut though. Now heading over to the winners bracket, you are facing D plus Kia. Anything you want to say about the matchup? They are on a great form, so our jungle support duo will also do our best to match their strength as well. This will be the end of the interview with Delight, and back to the space. Thank you.